Came out in 1979 and was the official sequel to the original Rocky, which had come out in 1976. Rocky 2 was one of the first films to ever be directed by Sylvester Stallone, and who was the creator of Rocky in the first place. It, of course, starred him as Rocky Balboa, brought back Talia Shire as his love interest Adrian, Carl Weathers as Apollo Creed, Burgess Meredith as Mickey, and Burt Young as Rocky's best friend Paulie. The film came out in 1979 and was a hit. It was a much bigger budget than Rocky was. Obviously, in my previous review of Rocky, it was done on a shoestring budget. This movie, due to the success that Rocky delivered, allowed for a much bigger budget. So let's get into Rocky. So basically, in Rocky 2, it takes place after the events of Rocky. As we know, the exhibition fight with Rocky and Apollo Creed, the current heavyweight champion of the world, was a tie in Apollo 1. So it's sort of the after effects of Rocky. What happens when you get instant fame, basically? And what do you do with that fame at the time? So in Rocky 2, it picks up right after you can see he's quite injured from that fight with Apollo Creed. He rehabilitates in the hospital. But there's also a touching moment in the fact that now he's made the decision he's going to propose to Adrian, who he's in love with. And their proposal's pretty cool. I like it. It's original. Where it's set, everything else. I won't get into that. Rocky 2 also marks the birth of Robert Balboa, which would be Rocky's son in the series, during this movie as well. The neat thing with Rocky 2 is it shows him with his instant fame in the beginning, instantly comes into money that he's never had before, and it's all kind of blown away fairly quick. The fame's come and gone. But the movie also focuses on the after effects of Apollo Creed. Now, Apollo Creed won the last fight. However, the fans are basically saying that it was a fluke. Rocky should have won. It shouldn't have been Apollo Creed. And he's getting hate mail. Hate mail. And he's the current heavyweight champion of the world. So this drives Apollo Creed to one conclusion. I've got to do a rematch with Rocky to show that it was just a fluke. He was lucky that fight, and I can actually beat him. At the same time, we realize Rocky's experiencing an injury that makes it a little dangerous for him to get into the ring at this point in time. He's also struggling with, the home life, family life with Adrian. The fact that she cares more about him than she does about him fighting again. She basically wants him to stop fighting altogether. So he becomes officially retired at a very young age from that first fight. So as we progress on, you see that it's really a character-driven movie with Rocky and Apollo, and you see the rationale to why Apollo needs to challenge Rocky again for a fight. When the challenge does come, Rocky listens to Adrian and basically turns down the challenge essentially. But as we progress on and you see the struggles financially that they're dealing with, and the fact that Rocky truly misses boxing. He needs to get back into the ring again. At this point in time, a challenge is eventually accepted against Adrian's wishes. He starts training back with Mickey, and then something near tragic happens to Adrian in the movie, and it basically just floors Rocky. And he's pretty much done. He's done with training. He wants to be with her, and it only makes sense. As you would expect, the fight's coming closer and closer, and he hasn't necessarily dropped to the fight, but he's definitely dropped out of training and getting ready for this fight, getting prepared. And then an unlikely thing happens with Adrian, and unlikely source of motivation to get him back into training again, which is fantastic. A promise is sort of made. Win is the word that's said there. The training montage in this movie is fantastic. I really enjoyed it. The different types of training he does. He's got some unique style. And then, of course, running up the Rocky steps with a large entourage behind him. You'll have to see that to believe it. Now, the fight itself is a different fight. This is Apollo Creed. He's not coming in with a fancy outfit on. He's not coming in with his usual entourage. He means business. He's not here for a show. And this fight isn't an exhibition, which an exhibition fight means that whoever wins doesn't necessarily mean you're the champion of the world. You're not. This is for the championship of the world. Whoever wins this fight will be the new heavyweight champion. So there's two different drives for both characters in this movie. You have a drive for Rocky to prove himself, that he's not a fluke, that he's not a joke. And then you have Apollo Creed's drive, which is similar but different in the fact that he needs to maintain his title. He needs to just not only beat Rocky, he needs to destroy him in the ring, essentially, like hurt him bad. And before the fight, I have to say it's kind of a touching moment. You see Apollo Creed; he's all ready, he's all psyched, he's at the arena. Thousands of people there, everybody's ready. Mickey's actually waiting for Rocky, and then it flashes to Rocky, and he's basically in the nursery at his house, spending time with his young son. And it's a touching moment there. I want to say that was probably an inspiration for him to do well in the fight, because no matter what happens, he still has his family, but if he was to win this fight, it would change things for his family dramatically. So there's two different drives for these characters. The fight itself is quite brutal. It doesn't start off as friendly as it did in Rocky, where Apollo Creed was just putting on kind of a show there a bit. This is the fight for the championship. This is Apollo Creed not only trying to win the fight, but basically destroy him and knock him down. And it's quite a good fight. I like the music in the fight. Very well done there. Not going to give away the ending, but obviously somebody wins. And it's a win by a few seconds. I'll say that much. What I liked about this movie was it proved that Sylvester Stallone, contrary to many people that critique him, is a very good director. He knows what he's doing. He also has the love and soul for this character, so it means a lot to have him portray Rocky, of course, and to have not only written the story, but direct it too. So you can imagine how challenging that is to film a boxing match where you're the one in the ring. So I can only imagine how many outtakes they do. I do know in the Rocky films, they really hit each other. This isn't for show. They did a lot of hitting. And both actors look phenomenal in the ring there. Rocky 2, I guess if there's a life lesson here, it's basically what happens when you get instant fame and it's blown away quite quickly, and training against the odds. Rocky 2 is a good movie. I really enjoyed it. I know that it doesn't have as much love from the fans as it does for the original Rocky. I will admit, Rocky 3 that comes out, I'll do my review of that after. Love that movie too. So let's get into the actors. Again, Sylvester Stallone as Rocky Balboa. Looks pretty good here. He's a bit bulkier than he was in Rocky. Obviously, he's been training a little more for this movie. Obviously, has more time. Mickey's fantastic in this movie. Mickey is a character that you learn that he loves Rocky. He doesn't necessarily care about the fame or the title. He cares more about Rocky and Rocky's safety in this movie. There's a real good connection there, and it's like the father that Rocky never had, essentially, is Mickey. Adrian again delivers a really good performance throughout the movie. She's a major part of this movie. And Paulie is Paulie. Burt Young does a really good job with Paulie, and just nails it as far as I'm concerned. And Carl Weathers is Apollo Creed. This movie is essential to the series, and it makes a difference because of the fact that you'll see why he gained so much respect for the character Rocky Balboa post this movie. This was truly a climactic fight. And of course, throughout the Rocky saga, and I'll get into it later, there's a couple spin-offs now, Creed and Creed 2, currently Creed 3 in the works. And this movie is really important to see, especially if you're watching the Creed movies, because it really sees the relationship and the respect and the hardcore fight between Apollo Creed and Rocky Balboa. The filming was really good. The music was good. Setting, of course, is in Philadelphia, of course. I really like the movie. It's part of the Rocky saga. It definitely is a good sequel to Rocky, and it does lead into Rocky 3. I highly recommend this movie. If you've never seen the Rocky saga and you're interested in seeing it, of course, do it in order. But Rocky 2 is a good movie. I really enjoyed it. And I'll get into Rocky 3 after. So on a scale of 1 to 10, and I gave Rocky an 11 out of 10, the original Rocky, that is, I give Rocky 2 an 8. I give an 8, and I'll tell you why. Of course, nothing beats the original. That's the case. This movie did have some slow parts in it. Not saying they weren't necessary parts, but it definitely was for dramatic factor there. And for me, that was part of the reason. And of course, I'm a little biased because, as I do my review of the next one, Rocky 3, the music score is kick-ass in that movie. So I give it an 8 out of 10. Rocky 2, highly recommend it. Very good picture by Sylvester Stallone. And you know, as you're watching Rocky 2, you still wondered, you know, did they have any idea this would go on for so many decades after? Anyways, tell me what you think in the comments below. Like my page and subscribe. All right, take care, folks. Bye.